prices work about Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing on here called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Checking in for a little aftermarket news update and have some things worth sharing with you as always. And we can learn about the long-term objective by just paying attention to what's happening in very problematic countries right now. And I think one of the most important ones worth talking about happens to be around the whole QR code and the importance for the World Economic Forum to make sure everyone has some type of app on their phone for tracking, tracing, and all types of things like that. And it looks like, according to this development in Sri Lanka, it's something we can learn from. So I want to share with some thoughts with you, as well as give you some updates on other events, and just share with you what came across my my desk today in the news. So hope everyone's doing well. As always, welcome to the live stream. I won't be long. Just want to check in, give you some relevant stories. And of course, always encourage you to connect on the social media platforms to share articles, stories, as well as other content from your favorite creators throughout the day. And if we have any new viewers, definitely let me know where you're watching from via the chat, as well as in the comment section. I do tend to read the comments and try to reply when I can. And before I dive any further, let me do a little maintenance on my side, and then we'll jump into a couple articles here and let you guys know what's going on. But if you're new and if you happen to come across this for the first time, make sure you click that subscribe button, as well as a bell notification. Hopefully you are notified, no guarantees. And also make sure you guys connect on all the social media platforms. The link is in the description to this video. Just a way to make sure we stay connected throughout the day. And also, for those that might be new to the community, want to make sure I welcome you and also give you ideas as to how you can better protect and preserve yourself. And I have the Bullion Max opportunity. I want to continue to remind everybody for that. It is an opportunity to get 5 ounces at a discounted price to the RTD community. If you're interested, the link is in the description. And also, RTD Locals. Definitely going to do more live streaming there in the evenings. So if you're not registered for that, definitely do that. And you can stay connected and be notified for sure. And if you're interested in supporting the channel via some type of monetary contribution, I would appreciate that. It helps things run smoothly on my end and helps pay for all the things on the back end. Consider donating at the RTD site beneath this video as well. And then if you're new, I have articles, blogs, all my videos I've done throughout the years, ways to stay informed and up to date into this monetary shift that's underway now. So all that information is at the link in the bottom of this video here. All right, let's jump right in. So I want to start today off. Lahiru, one of fellow community members in Sri Lanka, who I've connected with several times, sent me a text this morning. And he's a journalist out in Sri Lanka and recording things in real time because he's on the ground there. And he sent me this article that he wrote. And so I thought I would start off by talking about this because there's been more developments with the recent announcement of the new president there. And he happens to be a World Economic Forum puppet. And there's a common theme amongst all of these distressed countries and the sudden announcement of resignations of a lot of political figures and their replacements. They're already bought and paid for. And I'm going to share with you a couple other candidates that are part of Klaus Schwab's crew of bought and paid for politicians. But this is an article here. And this year, we were talking about this in our last live stream, referencing a billionaire who was very prominent in the country there, and he wanted to become a part of the political process there. And it says here, billionaire business tycoon decides to quit parliament after just 1 month. And so if you go, for those who may not be familiar with this, we talked about this in depth in our last interview. That'll be a good way to find out what's going on here. But this is very surprising because at the same time, he's only been there for 1 month. The whole purpose of him actually going into politics was more so to protect his own interests because he's very influential in the country and he has a lot to lose if things continue to deteriorate in Sri Lanka. So he became a part of the political figure, and all of a sudden now new prime minister, new political cabinet comes in, he's out. So it lets me know that he was not a part of the Boys and Girls Club and was not offered an opportunity to stay in the parliament. So, and that was what got me going down this rabbit hole here because it's something we can learn from this, I believe. And shortly thereafter, here we have new Sri Lankan president Ranil, I'm not going to butcher his last name, sworn in after weeks of crisis. And so he's a 73-year-old, came a day after he was elected to the post in a secret vote. He was, secretly brought in. And of course, they've mentioned several times that due to continuous unrest and the hijacking or the taking over the presidential palace, all the other political figures, buildings and whatnot, everything was done for the most part in secret. So this gentleman here wasn't even voted in by the people. He was installed like most politicians are. And of course, lo and behold, let's just look at his credentials. And so here's just a little something that I thought I would pull up here. And we have the World Economic Forum's primary puppet is reinstated as the president of Sri Lanka. After one puppet left, another one is brought in. And so as a result of that, here's another little headline. It says, Sri Lankan brace for more unrest as a new president vows crackdown on fascist protests. So there's going to be more chaos in the streets. But once again, this is all a part of the plan to continue to reinstate their own, given the illusion of choice and the illusion of change. But in actuality, they're all coming from the same club, which is the World Economic Forum. And this is not the only country doing this. I'm going to dive into that further in a minute. But what caught my attention that I wanted to bring to your attention was Sri Lanka implements a QR code fuel rationing scheme. And so, as I mentioned, to start this off, we've been introduced to the use of QR codes for several reasons. One in particular happens to do with the health situation. And whether you've downloaded something or not, Samsung and I think iPhone has all come with updates basically forcing you to, opt out as if you have to make that choice in a phone that you already purchased. But it's a part of the operating system. But the goal is still to make sure you have a QR code on your phone from your government so that they can track, trace, and monitor everything you do and basically issue certain rights and privileges that they feel that you need to receive from them through your participation via some QR code. So what happens when you basically cut off energy, limit people from having financial access? You want to give it directly to them through a QR code controlled and operated by the government. And that's what they're doing now. So we've been talking about the Sri Lankan energy crisis there. But now that literally the day after the new puppet from the World Economic Forum is instated, they are now rolling out the QR code fuel rationing scheme here, brought to us by the same person that comes from the World Economic Forum. So this is not accidental, it's deliberate, it's intentional. And because Sri Lanka is already a distressed country going through, mad chaos right now, it makes it easier to roll these things out and for them to fly under the radar, because most people won't really talk about it, because in order to get gas in your vehicle or to heat your house when it comes to heating fuel, you're going to need this QR code in some capacity. And so the goal is, as time moves forward here in the West and the developed nations, to basically cause so much pain and chaos to where people opt into QR code type apps with no process whatsoever, or with little resistance, because you're going to need what they're trying to issue out, whether it be energy, the new CBDC, or whatever it might be, to the like of. Anyway, real quick. The policy was introduced to Sri Lanka Prime Minister of Energy, Kachan, last name I'm not going to butcher it, at the behest of Sri Lanka's new president, Ranil. So the new president comes in 24 hours later. He's talking about, let's roll out this app. And so it says here, a member and agenda contributor for the World Economic Forum. And then here is the the Minister of Power and Energy, one of, Ranil's probably new appointees or someone that's on board. This is what he's quoted as saying. It says, after initial technical issues, FuelPass QR System was successfully tested today. The pilot project will continue before going live nationally next week. The last digit number plate for your fuel quota will ease the fuel lines in the next few days, with the distribution speeded up island-wide. It says, I thank the fuel station owners who supported, the public that adopted and assisted, forces and volunteers that assisted in implementing it. Some fuel stations did not adopt it, and some individuals manipulated falsified QR codes and did not want to implement it. However, it will be enforced island-wide. So whether you want to or not, you're going to have to use this QR code in order to access fuel from fuel stations that participated, which a good portion of them will, or if they have not yet, they will be probably cut off from receiving fuel if they don't abide with the government's rules. So this is just what's happening here. And then here's a little short video just showing a quick transaction of the actual fuel with a person, and they had, as you guys can see here, put up how much fuel you want. And then in order to actually process that transaction, you got to have your phone QR code scanned just to make sure that you're valid, that your phone is registered, you're registered, your vehicle is registered, and all the things that come with the tracking and surveillance model. And then also we see here, this is earlier this month how they were stationing our army at fuel stations to make sure people were participating in an orderly fashion. So I think we can learn a lot from these type of things here because, as I mentioned, the QR code is vital to have in your phone because ultimately, down the line in the very distant future, the goal is to replace the use of the cell phone and the QR codes, make it a part of who you are. That's the ultimate goal as time moves forward. So what better way to introduce it through things such as this, because everybody has a device in their hand, and it's a matter of creating the right conditions, or it's a matter of them creating the right conditions to where you'll be willing to download apps for their purposes solely. So, but that's on the QR side. Let me know your thoughts in the QR in the chat as well as the comments. And then on to more of the World Economic Forum puppets that's in play. So the UK, we had Boris Johnson, was it 2 weeks ago? He basically resigned. And here we have what looks like Liz and Rishi set to be the next UK prime minister. So we got two World Economic Forum puppets on the stage vying for the position. And it's supposed to be the good guy versus the bad guy, or good girl versus bad guy, or however they're going to portray this. But this is all political theater. Why? Because the primary candidates, as you guys can see here, they've already been registered. They might be new appointees or who knows, but they're already on the World Economic Forum's website. This is from someone on Twitter, but they're already there. And it's just a matter of, okay, they bought in. They are already, let me see. Actually, you guys can't even see it, but forgive me. This is just the candidates here, the two primary candidates. Apparently, according to this figure here, they're already on the World Economic Forum's cooperation list as being paid and bought for a politician. So really, are you getting anything different by Boris Johnson leaving, and then you bringing in one of the two of what looks like the primary candidates might be between these two here? As I mentioned before, Liz and Rishi. And so they're the next prime ministers to be, both on World Economic Forum puppets. So not much difference there. And the same thing will happen with Draghi and Italy. Whoever's coming in next will be bought and paid for. That's how this thing goes. But anyway, on to some other interesting news. The ECB hike showcases the death of central banks' forward guidance. And so today, it was official that the ECB went neutral. They went neutral. They apparently surprised and shocked the markets by basically going to zero. They went from negative 50 basis points to zero. The European Central Bank just hiked interest rates for the first time in 11 years amid political and economic crisis. And so one thing that's interesting about this, let me see if I can find it, if I have it here. So in this little clip here, as you guys can see, it says, and I'll call myself trying to watch 20 or 30 minutes of it, but it got kind of boring. But it says ECB President Lagarde, is quoted as saying economic activity is slowing. And so typically when things are slowing, if you want to ramp things up or get things back flowing smoother and faster, you usually drop rates. You don't really look to increase rates, especially after 11 years of tight or excessively loose monetary policy. But then again, it's a great unraveling. So they're tightening into what would be considered the greatest of greatest, or greater of great, with 3 or 4 greats behind it type of depressionary environment, because none of this makes sense. But then again, it's all in the disguise of trying to make it appear as if they're fighting inflation, when ultimately they're trying to keep the bubbles from contracting, i.e. deflation. So like I've been mentioning before, we're going to run into some type of hyper stagflationary event to where asset prices towards things that are usually viewed as wealth preservation mediums will definitely decrease, and the cost of everyday living goods and services that we need will go through the roof at some point. So, but once again, tightening at the same time that they're having economic conditions that are slowing down, it's gonna create a hell of a storm. And then one thing I found to be interesting about the announcement of this increase to basically neutral or to zero was that it took place at 12:45 Guatemala time, or GMT, which is 8:45-ish Eastern Standard. And so at the same time she was announcing this hike, the precious metal sector went bananas in reference to the sudden spike in the price, in dollar terms as well as the euro terms, you name it, of gold and silver. And so I thought this just was interesting. So I'm sure there's some correlation somehow, some way, but once again, nothing's accidental. It's all intentional. And so the markets responded very favorably in a nominal sense for metals. But as you guys can see here, priced in euro, gold. And so last couple of days trending downward, like massive sell-offs every morning. There's a sell-off. And so we got a continuous decreasing here up until, as you can see right here at about 820-ish at the very bottom of gold in euro terms is 106 or 1,645 in euros. Once she announced this hike, this thing jumped up quick. And that right here, looking at this graph is a major move. So around this time frame here is when the announcement was made by Lagarde. And of course, the response of gold went right back up nice and quick. Even if you look at United States dollar, same thing. Around the same time she spoke, boom. And of course, the Dixie on the other side of that also took a little dip. And a couple fiat currencies, the trade weighted versions of them also increased. So once again, as they're tightening into a greater style depression that humanity's never seen, wealth preservation tools, i.e. gold and silver, which are actually money, they have to respond to those activities just because it's the counter. It's the kryptonite towards the global banksters Ponzi scheme that's been running for several hundred years now. But at some point it will break. Who knows how, what, where, when, but ultimately you want to be on the outside looking in when things do go belly up. So those are just some stories I wanted to share real quick, but I thought that was interesting to see how gold and silver responded after being slammed down as a result of the ECB going neutral at just merely zero. And then to make it even worse, they're also talking big in reference to trying to get up to a single point by the end of this year. And so we have the Fed as well talking about their desire to continue to raise rates up and through this year, but we'll see how that plays out. And let me find an article real quick if I can, because the next projection is that the ECB will actually be at 1% by the end of this year. But as of now, everyone's anticipating some type of pivot by the Fed. And of course, every other central bank will have to pivot as well. They can't just do it in isolated events. It'll be a unified approach if it happens. But once again, I'm expecting something completely different just because it seems timely that in order to get QR codes on people's phones, so people are forced to comply, forced to opt in to their system, that they would definitely want more pain. And the only way you get more pain is to do the things opposite of what everyone is expecting. And so that's why I think that pivot may not be so typical the way that it has in prior years. So, but anyway, this is just what's happening. I thought I would share my 2 cents on this, and there'll be more information in reference to the puppets chosen by the World Economic Forum that will be replacing the prime ministers in the UK as well as in Italy and everywhere else. So whenever there's a resignation moving forward, expect that there'll be a puppet that will be installed or they'll be up next to bat. And of course, it'll be the illusion of change, but nothing's changing. They're still trying to orchestrate this collapse in its entirety. So, but other than that, you guys know what's going on. The best you can do is keep your prayer game up, do everything you can to limit your exposure to this old legacy system as it's being brought down, and enjoy life on a day-to-day basis. Do the best you can to add value to other people, and just enjoy the moment while it is, man, because it's good if you're still able to be aware of these things, keep an eye on these things, and also help other people to also brace and prepare as well. But anyway, that's all I had for this little news update. As always, for those that are new, definitely hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this quick little synopsis of what's happening in the news, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. And also make sure you guys connect via the link down below. Take advantage of all those resources as well. Let's connect on the socials and let's stay plugged in, man. And other than that, let's keep it moving forward. You guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.
The next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months.
A crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
If you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.